you guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have been waiting to do this video for so long because this video is going to be the start of a series where we get to bake together. I'm really excited to do this little baking series. I have some recipes already ready down the pipeline. I feel like my goal would be to maybe do one of these once a month, but I don't know if that's going to be too ambitious, so don't hold me to it. I thought we would kick it off with one of the best desserts in the world: cinnamon rolls. Fluffy homemade cinnamon rolls. I've actually only made cinnamon rolls once ever from scratch before, and that was last Christmas, but I do not know what recipe I used. I am going to be following a recipe from Broma Bakery. I'm gonna include it all down in the description. I follow her on Instagram. She's super cute. You guys should follow her too, but I am following her recipe. She got me when she said pillowy soft, gooey in the middle, and then smothered in a cream cheese frosting. If there is one thing I love, it is a cream cheese and a dessert, like a cream cheese frosting. So I said, sold. We are doing your recipe. We're gonna be baking these from scratch. I will say, I am not starting these until like 2 p.m. and I'm a little bit worried that we're gonna lose daylight in here, but my kitchen doesn't get the best lighting anyways, so we're just gonna roll with it and we're gonna have some fun baking some yummy cinnamon rolls. I feel like this is a great breakfast item to make the week of Christmas. I feel like waking up and having cinnamon rolls Christmas morning is it. So that's how I was like, I gotta get this video out soon so that people can make them Christmas morning if they want to. And then this video will just live on my channel for any time the cinnamon roll craving strikes. So without further ado, let's make some cinnamon rolls. Okay, so first things first, when making cinnamon rolls, there are 3 components. So we have the dough, the filling, and then the frosting. So we are gonna start off with the dough, which I feel like is the most daunting part of making cinnamon rolls from scratch, but it is the reason that it's so worth it when you get that fluffy, pillowy texture that it was talking about. I feel like any sort of dough recipe always scared me at first because I was so used to just doing like simple cookies, stuff like that. But now that I'm starting to work with sourdough, I'm like, I need to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And I feel like if you just try to stick with the recipe, you usually can be pretty successful. But always remember, if you're a beginning baker, that baking is more of a science, so you really want to be very precise, which I'm gonna point out that we have a few ingredients that call for them to be at room temperature. So if you're about to get started and you haven't pulled them out yet, you're gonna wanna pause and you're gonna wanna pull them out and you're gonna wanna come back to this. So we're gonna start by adding some of our first ingredients to a big mixing bowl. So we've got our mixture of flour, our instant yeast packet, some salt, and some sugar, and we're gonna mix to combine. Okay, so I actually ended up switching bowls because I realized that we were about to use this in the stand mixer. So I have that prepped and ready to go, but I am using this one instead. And I warmed up our milk and butter mixture. It does specify you do not want it too hot, so just keep that in mind. And also I'll say that in the original recipe, she does say you can use any sort of milk, but that whole milk is gonna make it more of that soft, buttery dough. We're now working in my cute little baking nook, which is all decked out for Christmas. I'm going to move my sourdough loaf so that we have some space. And we're gonna be using our paddle attachment. So we're gonna get that. We're gonna gradually increase the speed starting on low, and then we are going to bump it up until we're beating it on high until it is combined, which should be about 2 minutes. Now we're adding another cup. This is one of my favorite baking cues. And now we're gonna do 1 more cup, and we're gonna add it in gradually as it kind of starts to pull from the side and form into a ball. So I ended up doing a little bit more flour than it called for because it wasn't quite pulling from the bowl as much as I wanted it to. It was a little bit more loose. So I added a little bit more myself, but now I have this floured surface that we're gonna knead it out on, which I will say I am not the best kneader in the world. It is definitely something I'm not as like confident at with baking, but I have done this before and I feel like you just work with it. Okay, we're doing what's called the window pane test, which might look a little bit backlit for you guys, but essentially we're just pulling it and seeing that it becomes more translucent than ripping. Okay, that was a proper workout. I feel like whenever I need dough, I come out the other end sweating. But we now have ourselves a nice little dough. And we are going to put it into an oiled bowl so that it can rise. But I feel like we made it through the hard part. So give yourself a pat on the back because you've got yourself a nice little piece of dough to work through. And if you're wondering what kind of oil to use, I personally chose to use avocado oil because it can withstand higher temperatures, and I try to stay away from some of the bad oils. And I actually just have my covers from doing sourdough baking, so I'm just gonna use one of those, but you could also just use a plastic wrap cover. Okay, I think that's gonna stay. So I'm gonna go put it in our back window because it's supposed to sit somewhere kind of warm. What a happy little dough, just basking in the Florida sunshine. I wanna be her. Really missing the Florida sun right now, but we're having fun activities like baking instead. Okay, now before y'all go and sit for a minute, we are gonna make the filling, okay? I know that we are ready for a break. Cinnamon rolls are a labor of love, okay? It's not quite as bad as sourdough, I've learned, which is like a few day process, but we're on our feet for a little while. We're working with dough, we're kneading, and now we're working on the next part, which is the filling. But we're gonna put together the filling and then you should have a little break. I added my pinch of salt. I'm adding the cinnamon. Remember that with brown sugar, you always wanna pack it down with a spoon as you're measuring it, unless you're told otherwise. And on a reminder as that one, we are not adding the butter to it yet. We are just making this dry mixture of it. We're waiting to do the butter in the next few steps. So we're gonna set that aside and now we can wait a little bit. Okay, you guys, she has risen, so we know that we did something right. We're gonna take our baby, and I floured on our island, so we're gonna take that and we're gonna start to roll it out, which I think is so fun. So from the long end, we are grabbing it. We're gonna start to roll her up away. I need leverage, okay? So now this is another part that is not my forte, and that is measuring them into even pieces because I just don't precisely measure. We just kind of go for it. So I'm like, okay, if it calls for 12, I feel like we should start in the middle and then go from there. So I'm gonna take care of this. And I'll note that I grabbed my head honcho knife for this because we want it sharp. 2, 3, 4. They're gonna get a little smushed as you cut it down, but you can just kind of mold it back into shape. I definitely counted this wrong. So my friend showed me this hack that if you crinkle the parchment paper, it makes it much easier to place and fit in. I think one of the best things about homemade cinnamon rolls is that they're imperfect. That is gonna be a long one. Long and smushy. You guys, I mismeasured. I told you guys I was bad at that. So we have a nice number of 11 in here instead of 12. So you can see these guys are a little bit more smushed on the edges, but doesn't this look delicious? So now we're gonna do our second rise. So I'm gonna cover them with a dishcloth, and then I'm actually gonna be gone a little bit longer than an hour because we're going to get dinner, because I'm not eating these for dinner, they're for dessert. So it might be a little bit longer, which should be good, but I'm gonna cover them, go fill up my tummy, go look at some Christmas lights, and then we'll be back to finish this, which it certainly will be dark in here then, but that kind of just adds to the ambiance, doesn't it? Okay, you guys, I'm back. sorry for leaving you there, but it was getting to be dinner time and I was like, we gotta go get food. So we went downtown and we had some sweet green, which was yummy, and we ate it under the Christmas lights in a park downtown, and then we drove around and looked at Christmas lights, which was really fun. But as we were leaving, I was like, you know what? I think we're gonna be longer than an hour, so I ended up popping the cinnamon rolls into the fridge so that they were in there for the second proof to kind of slow it down and make sure that we didn't overproof them. But that is a really good point, because if you want to make them a little bit ahead of time to have them in the morning and have it be easier, what you can do is right at that same spot going into the second proof, you put them into the fridge, then let them warm up to room temperature, which is what I'm doing right now, and then you can carry on. Or if you have the time and you just sat for an hour and are ready, then you're still at the same spot. I'm starting the process of sifting the cream cheese because I feel like that can take a little bit, especially because my sifter isn't great, and we need 3 cups of it. So I'm just getting going a little bit on the cream cheese frosting. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna make a sub here. Normally it calls for vanilla extract, but we're gonna go with the vanilla bean paste from Trader Joe's, which I keep looking for because it's the holiday season and I haven't seen it. Okay, we're gonna check on them. Oh no. Oh gosh, I'm pulling them. They're massive. Oh my gosh, they're gargantuan. You guys, learn from me. I think I learned my lesson this time. I need to measure them, please. Wait, can I pop them back in? These girls. Okay, wait, they look less gargantuan. They're all just a little smushy, but to be honest, I feel like that makes them look scrumptious. So it depends on how perfect of a baker you want to be. I personally will own that I'm a very imperfect baker. Okay, we're gonna taste test the frosting. Oh my gosh. You wanna try it?
Yeah.
Here.
That'll play.
That'll play? That's
play.
approved? Okay. And the most important step that you mustn't forget is looking at the spoon.
Yeah, Millie and I actually were the ones that made this. Millie did the dough, I did the icing.
Yeah.
What do you...
Oh, Millie, you did the tough part.
She's trying to claim she did the icing too.
Yeah, take all the credit, why don't
You know what? This is the last time I try to do something with you if you're going to take all the credit for it. But a lot of people fail to understand here is, yes, Crystalyn spent a lot of time on this and she worked very hard on this. But this is the most important part. Okay, when I come in and I do this, this is the most important part. The taste testing is the most important part. Because if I don't like it, if you don't like it, it's kind of a waste, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the most important part. Am I supposed to use a fork?
Well,
Okay.
it's up to you. Eat it however you want.
No, go ahead. It's good. It's doughy, but not like too doughy, undercooked doughy.
It said like to near underbake them.
And the cream cheese frosting, it's like, it doesn't have that fake frosting icing feel.
I haven't even tried it yet.
Oh, yeah. This one's better. That's, yeah. See?
The warmness.
It's good.
You know what was weird about this one?
What?
So you're not even gonna like know the difference, but last year I poured heavy cream all in it, and this one didn't call for that. So that was the one thing that I was like, oh, that was interesting about this recipe. But
I don't think you need it. This is good. This is good.
You guys have to make this. Thank you for watching though, and I definitely want to do more videos like this in the future. They're so fun to make, and you know, I'm not a professional baker, so we're learning this together. I feel like that's kind of the fun of a bake with me, is that we're walking through a recipe and you can kind of follow it, but it's not this like expert overwhelming one. So anyways, thank you for watching.